Once upon a time, pale skin was seen as the fashionable, seductive appearance of the Elizabethan English elite. Queen Elizabeth I's signature ghostly makeup epitomized the 16th century ideal for women, symbolizing porcelain skin that represented nobility and earthly perfection. To achieve this ideal, Elizabeth covered her face with makeup made primarily of lead. She also applied mercury to her lips and likely used a mercury-based makeup remover that ate away at her skin. Today, we discuss Elizabeth I and the makeup that may have contributed to her death. Before we begin, a quick reminder to subscribe to the Wanda Discoveries channel and let us know which historical figure you'd like us to cover. Now, let's get started. The Queen calls us during the Virgin Queen's reign, where the highest standard for female beauty was smooth, strikingly white skin. To achieve this look, Elizabeth used Venetian ceruse, a cosmetic made from white lead and vinegar. She powdered her face and neck with this substance, transforming her damaged skin into an eerie porcelain canvas, which probably had a sour wine-like odor. That's certainly one way to maintain your virginity. Thanks to 400 years of scientific progress, we now know that applying lead to the face daily causes serious, often irreversible issues such as hair loss, skin damage, and death from lead poisoning, which in the 16th century was quite fatal. It may have been so for Queen Elizabeth, but lead wasn't the only poison in her makeup. Let's examine the other culprit. Snow White's mother desired more than just a tiny ghost baby. She also wanted lips as red as blood, resembling winter roses. These lips were created from cinnabar, a toxic mineral containing mercury. The Queen's lip stain gave her the signature red mouth seen in all those eerie paintings. So we have two deadly poisons working together through skin absorption over long periods. On the surface, the lead makeup slowly corroded the Queen's skin. In response, Elizabeth applied thicker and thicker layers of makeup, reportedly layering it up to an inch thick toward the end of her life. Symptoms of mercury poisoning include memory loss, irritability, and depression, conditions that Elizabeth is said to have experienced in her final years. Now we're getting closer. In the Elizabethan era, nobles didn't remove their makeup every night, a habit that many modern women have been guilty of at least a few times. After her maids carefully applied lead and mercury makeup to the royal face, Elizabeth wore it for at least a week. Forget about pore blockages. The lead seeped into her skin, causing it to turn grey and wrinkled. When Elizabeth finally had her makeup removed, historians suggest she might have used a gross mixture containing eggshells, alum, and yes, more mercury. Some claim that the mercury-based makeup remover left her skin soft, but that was because it was literally stripping her skin away, one layer at a time. As a young queen, Elizabeth didn't wear as much lead makeup, not just because she was young, but also because she hadn't yet had smallpox. On October 10, 1562, she was struck by a high fever and displayed all the signs of the pox. Courtiers feared she would die within the week, but the young queen survived. Unfortunately, the disease left her with permanent scars, which posed a problem in her 20s, a time in life when things can either be perfect or disastrous. Smallpox scars were a common issue at the time, which led women to wear vinegary lead makeup. Elizabeth's close friend, Mary Sidney, suffered from them as well as her husband, Henry Sidney, noted the discomfort of the scars. Trying to navigate through an environment of constant judgment, Elizabeth did everything she could to cover her blemishes and maintain her virginity. Anything to avoid a husband who publicly remarked on his wife's pockmarks. Female rulers were rare in English history, and Elizabeth was well aware of this. She knew that all eyes were on her, and any scar on her face would mark her as a pariah rather than a survivor. In 1586, in her 50s, Elizabeth reflected on the weight of these expectations while speaking to Parliament. "We princes, as I tell you, are set on stage in the sight and view of all the world. Our actions are duly observed, the eyes of many behold us. A spot is quickly seen in our garments, a blemish noted quickly in our actions." In a bold act of pre-Instagram filtering, Elizabeth outright forbade unflattering portraits of herself. Artists were encouraged to get very creative, making her look young, youthful, and white, even as she entered her later years. In this case, this creativity was a little too good at portraying what happens to human skin after decades of lead makeup. Here's the trick. The artists had to make the portrait recognizable as Queen Elizabeth without showing the scarred, sagging, and possibly peeling skin under her inch-thick white makeup. Enter the famous Darnley portrait, painted in 1575, which became a template for later depictions, as grateful artists reused its portrayal of Elizabeth's face in paintings for decades. Elizabeth's battle against aging was fierce and lasted her entire life. One of her smarter tricks was wearing a wig. Lord knows what insane concoction was used to cover up the grey back then. For a long time, it was essentially like Shatner's toupee, there but never officially acknowledged. That is until 1599, when the Earl of Essex revealed the secret, shocking people by expressing his astonishment at the elderly Queen's mostly bald head with only a thin ring of hair around her ears. We can't unsee that now, thanks to Essex. In her final months, Elizabeth refused to let doctors examine her. The Queen had fallen into a deep depression, but still she refused to rest. She believed that if she lay down, she would never get up. So Elizabeth stood for 15 hours straight, with her ladies placing pillows around her for when she would inevitably collapse. On March 24, 1603, Elizabeth passed away. Possible causes of death include cancer or pneumonia, but her long use of lead and mercury-based makeup, applied in increasing doses, certainly contributed to her declining health. After a lifetime of lead and mercury poisoning, Elizabeth's body became toxic. Elizabeth Southwell, one of the Queen's ladies-in-waiting, claimed that Elizabeth's body burst in her coffin at her wake due to the noxious vapours. Though Southwell's account is often dismissed as Jesuit propaganda, exploding coffins aren't unheard of, even today. The phenomenon, called exploding casket syndrome, occurs when a body is sealed too tightly in a coffin, causing the pressure to build up from the gases and fluids of decomposition until, well, there's a reason this is associated with bad religion. Here's another disturbing fact. While Elizabeth certainly suffered from lead and mercury poisoning, she may have actually died from blood poisoning. Just a week before she passed in 1603, Elizabeth's doctors recommended removing her coronation ring. For 45 years, the ring had cut into her already poisoned skin, and doctors warned that it needed to be surgically removed. A week later, she died, and depending on who you ask, exploded. Evidence of people using lead in makeup dates back at least to the 5th century BCE during the Roman Empire, when women powdered their faces with lead. By the 16th century, the mixture was known as Venetian ceruse, or the spirits of Saturn, Queen Elizabeth's favourite cosmetic. Sadly for her and every other ceruse user in history, it wasn't classified as a poison until 1630, just 40 years after her death, which it certainly had a hand in. People knew that lead caused hair loss and skin damage, but it took a long time for us to realise that we were literally poisoning ourselves for beauty. In many ways, we still are. Like it or not, pain and death for beauty is an ancient, entrenched tradition, and it's not finished with us. So, what do you think about Queen Elizabeth's makeup routine? Let us know in the comments, and while you're at it, check out some of these other videos from Wanda Discoveries.